content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you.
What's good, everybody? I'm GG. You tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers. And first thing I want to do is give a shout out to all the haters out there. How y'all doing? Good evening, good afternoon. If you haven't done so already, man, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, and the bell notification button so you can stay on top of what's going on here on the Green Gorilla channel. And as a matter of housekeeping, as I always do, I want to give a shout out to all the members of the Green Gorilla channel. So let's do that expeditiously. Shout out to Aaron Peters, Travis T, Zanco1, Barnolas, J. Cleveland Green, hiphop.catv, Dardar, Lard Hamal, Brotherly Love 215, and Lee Ways. Big up. Michael Ross, Vincent Lindsay, Michael Pierce, Beautiful Trauma, Quiz the Poet, Black Wizard 80OS, Jazz Tech, Shadow Observer, Sugar T, and Artisan MC. Big up. Big Said, Nasiana, Kyle J. Sura, Kareem, Troy Warren, Blacksword 404, Jeff R, Mrs. KP Bailey, Cutting Up with the Jones, and Ricky Dawson. Big up. Alan Wiley, The Face, Mantis on Break, Electrician 480, Life of Commerce, Apex Prowler, Julius Ferguson, True 7360, and Herbert Lewis. Big up. D. Scott, Marvin Evans, A. Wilson's Ghost, Rogus Son, L. Fry, Timothy Blewett, Jeffrey Speed, Marvin Battle Jr., and Mark Hope. Big up. John J., The IDP Expressions, Afro Troop TV, Adam, BGS Ibmore, Ignatz Mouse, Brian Peaks, Papa Dida, Scott Haywood, and Black Uru Strikes. Big up. Dr. Tree 33, Leroy Honeycutt, Broken Blade, Supertech, 77 Base X, Brian McMurray, K-Ron S, Anthony Davis, and Donnell 360. Big up. Seventh Coast Dojo, Charles Rogers, Rick Ross, Sandra Jean, Charles Gilmore, Patricia Colley, Greg, Barry Little, Mr. Valentino, and Jason Hales. Big up. Black Men Being Brutally Honest, Cameron 87, Doc LaRock, Mark Swift, Odd Collar, Donna Watts, Coach Hotep, Old Soul Chief, and Mr. Blue Collar. Big up. I'm Just Jules, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Mr. Heat, Sir Anthony, ML Law, Universal 178, Rasheed Barnes, and Aaron Smith. Big up. I can't forget the brother Forrest Windu, can't forget the brother David Carroll, and I can't forget the brother Kevin Samuels. And on the Patreon side, I'd like to give a shout out to Judah Arenda, Albert C., Dr. Ben Vincent, Charles Fontentot, I Am the Light of My Father, Waffle Weave, Lamont Latimer, William Joyner, Tyrone Hampton, Darnell Smith, Excalibur, Jason Warren, Anu219, Presured Prisoner, Taz, Dragon 59, Jay Bailey, Mr. Michi, and the Sangwa. Big up. Y'all deserve a round of applause. Thank you so much for supporting the Green Gorilla channel and helping me to keep things going. Thank you. And if you're wondering how you can support the Green Gorilla channel on an ongoing basis through a membership, here's how you do it. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. All right, man, we back. You know who I am. I'm GG. You tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers. And, today I want to talk about white women and white women's oppression. And, my basic question is, if they were so oppressed, why were they able to own slaves? I mean, it's just a basic question. It doesn't sound like deep-seated oppression to me. I mean, we could talk about, voting rights and other kinds of rights that exist within the domain of the society in which we live. But I mean, for crying out loud, man, you were able to own people and get people to work for you and get people to breastfeed for you as wet nurses. So explain to me how deeply the oppression was for white women. How, man? Now, what's really odd about this to me is, bruh, real talk, man. You have black men out here who are making the case that black men are regressive to the extent to which they are skeptical of this whole push for women's rights, or that have any critiques whatsoever of movements related to women's rights, or any other ideology connected to these movements. Like black men are supposed to be quiet, mum's the word, can't say nothing, can't be critical of any of this. Why? And it's a lot of black men out here doing this. And their main argument is that black men, especially black men who they deem to be manosphere black men, or men who they deem to be red pill black men, their, true consummate desire is to imitate and be white men and impose their dominance over black women and gay people. In the same way that white men have been able to impose their will and their dominance over white women. This is what you hear. And one of the problems I have with this is that it's based on racist scholarships that puts forth the notion that black men, because they lack institutional power in the United States, seek to demonstrate what little power they have through the rape and physical abuse of women. Now, there's no evidence for this shit whatsoever, but it is repeated as true ad nauseum by people who hold on to a particular liberal, quote unquote, progressive ideology. I'm just sick and tired of hearing this shit. I mean, you have scholars, man, who have dedicated their lives to studying this shit. One such person is Tommy Curry, who, by the way, is not a member of the manosphere. Okay? But he is a black masculinist and a black male studies scholar. He's spoken on this issue on several occasions, and how this notion actually is tied to the subculture of violence theory. People who were promoters of this theory, like Lynn Curtis, Susan Brown Miller, Maneka Mamir, and others, were theorizing without falsifying. They were creating analytics without doing any synthesis. And what do I mean by this? And before I move further, let me give out some housekeeping, man. Shout out to Greg. Thank you for your support. And DF for becoming a new member. Appreciate that. Let me give y'all some bombs. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Straight up. And if you you like the content that you hear here, please, if you can, support the Green Gorilla channel. But going back to the lecture at hand, arguments have been made. Research has been done that demonstrates that these claims are based upon racist scholarship that is not grounded upon any empirical kind of research whatsoever. Now, I don't know if you know a lot about philosophy, but here's something I want to let you know. There's two types of propositions, basic propositions that you can make. You can make a relations of ideas proposition, and you can make a matter-of-fact proposition. Now, a relations of ideas proposition is a proposition that the truth or falsity of can be basically ascertained through deductive logic, man. Point blank, period. you can determine if Jimmy is a bachelor. A bachelor is an unmarried male. Jimmy is an unmarried male. You don't need to go out into the world and do research in order to demonstrate that if Jimmy is a bachelor, Jimmy is an unmarried male. The fucking truth is contained in the premises themselves. All you have to do is engage in a deductive logical process and you can ascertain the truth or the falsity of the statement. If both of the premises are true, Jimmy is a bachelor and a bachelor is an unmarried male, you know that if Jimmy is a bachelor, he's unmarried. You don't have to go out into the world and do research to determine the truth of that statement or that syllogistic argument. You don't have to. But if you make a claim about a fact of the world, for example, that white men are trying to black men are trying to imitate white men. You got to fucking prove it, man. You can't just create logical arguments and just keep repeating them and then basically we're going to just pretend that they're true because as long as we say it over and over and over and over and over again, the more fucking true it becomes. If you make a matter-of-fact statement, the only way you can determine the truth or the falsity of the statement is to go out into the world and fucking prove it. That's it. If you say, hey, Mount Everest is the tallest mountain range in the world, you have to go out and you have to fucking prove it. You have to measure it against all of the other mountain ranges in the world. We know that it's not the case that Mount Everest is the highest, I don't think. But all we got to do is do a basic research and look it up online and find out which one has the highest altitude. Boom. Now we know if the statement is true or false. If you say, hey, Houston is the capital of Texas, we can say that's not a fucking true statement because Austin is the capital of Texas. There are matter-of-fact statements and relations of idea statements. Basically, what we're continuously receiving and getting is a whole bunch of theorizing and analytic statements that don't even have to be demonstrated whether or not they're true or false. We just argue that they're true based upon ideals alone. I'm sick and tired of people who are intellectually lazy continuously making these kind of fucking arguments. I'm just sick of it, man. If you make a statement about the facts of the world, you got to go out and demonstrate and prove that shit, bruh. But there are many people, including black male feminists, that seek to maintain the premise that all black men are trying to do is to imitate and reproduce the same shit that white men did. And they asserted without shame that black men are the white people or black people. And they are so because they're savage and they rape and they brutalize black women. Now, it doesn't matter how much social science you present to these people to the contrary, it doesn't fucking matter. They don't care. They still desire to push the point. But in the end, my point is that sexism is not the equivalent of racism in intensity or severity. It never has been. And it never fucking will be. So why do we continuously talk about this? I can prove this on empirical grounds just off the top of my dome. How many women have been transported from one landmass to another to work in perpetual fucking slavery and drudgery without any remuneration or assets being given to them whatsoever? Which group of women in the fucking world? Which ones? How many women, especially in the United States, when have they been prevented from being able to learn how to read and write? When? When have they been lynched for being women? I'm asking the question. When? I'm ready to dispense with this foolery of trying to make the case that black men's sexism, and I'm not saying that black men are not to some degree sexist. I'm pretty sure they are. But when it appears that it's just as deleterious and damaging as racism has been in general. When have you seen acts of genocide to the tune of millions of fucking women, millions, on the account that they were women? When? You don't see it. Now you've seen Jews put in gas chambers, both men and women and children. You've seen Native Americans be eliminated and their land annexed, predicated upon race and ethnicity. When have you seen that shit happen to any population of women just because they're women alone? When, bruh? So to argue that sexism is the equivalent of racism or racial conquest is silly, is stupid. But we continue to keep arguing these fucking points, bro. I'm tired of hearing it. And I'm not saying that there's something wrong with the oppression of women. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that in terms of intensity and severity, the two are fucking different, bro. They're different. Now, if it's truly the case, and one of the things I want, if it's truly the case that black men are the white people of black people, then when have black men ever argued for the creation of a colonial, slave-based, segregationist nation state of their own, in which they can repress the basic liberties of black women, gay people, or anybody else for that matter? Draw the fucking evidence out. Show it to me. I want to see it. I want to see where there is outline in any literature that black men have the desire to create a colonial slave-based, racially segregationist-based nation state that represses the basic liberties of other people on the grounds of race and gender and sexuality. Show me the fucking document, man. Show me people arguing about this shit and putting forth this as principles in their political philosophy. Show it to me. Show it to me. You're not gonna find it because it doesn't fucking exist, man. Joe the Average Brother, appreciate that, brother. Appreciate the donation, man. Oh, I just appreciate that, my brother. Appreciate the donation, man. Appreciate it. I'm just tired of hearing this shit. Oh, you're sexist and you want to prevent black women. I've never heard even anybody in this space argue that black women shouldn't have the right to vote or hold political offices or be able to own and transfer property. I've never heard this shit in this space, man. So why am I continuously hearing this shit? Why? Which one of you have ever said black women should not be able to own property, have a job, get a line of credit, be able to go to school, or be able to go to fucking work? Which one of y'all have said that? Who said that here? Which one? Which one of you guys, which content creator has made such arguments? I'm ready to hear it. But I guess as long as you keep repeating the same bullshit over and over and over, I guess we gotta believe it now. Don't even have to provide evidence to demonstrate the shit. All you gotta do is just hear a motherfucker making a claim over and over and over again, and it just becomes true just because they believe it and they say it intensely over and over again. It's bullshit. Thank you, Mr. Blue Collar. Appreciate the donation. Now, do black men have some issues with black women? Of course they do. Do black women have some issues with black men? Of course they do. But at the end of the day, bruh, stop using the false equivalency that black men are the white people of black people. There's no fucking evidence for this bullshit. Stop using that argument. It's a white racist argument created by people who propagated subcultural violence theory. You sound like them. You sound like white racist motherfuckers. And the extent to which black feminists participate in this and push it and interpolate it into their theories, they're participating and promoting white racist ideas. It's just the facts, man. It's the facts. But anyway, man, what I want to get to is this whole notion that, you know, white women were just so oppressed. I mean, like, if you think about your condition as a descendant of slaves, an ADOS person, and you look at a white woman and their situation politically, which would you prefer to be a member of in relation to the intensity and the virulence of the oppression? Which one would you rather be in a situation in? These people could read and write, own property. They could never own property because of coverture laws. Let's look at the coverture laws, bruh. Let's look at it. Because I'm tired. One thing people do is they repeat shit they learned in high school or shit they read in blogs. And they don't even read all the blogs. Sometimes I do read from blogs. I'm going to read from a blog today. But damn, even within the context of the blogs, you don't find these blanket statements being made in people who are being, to some degree, objective and impartial in how they present the facts of the conditions that obtain in America before the so-called civil rights movement. We're not telling the whole truth about this. We need to tell the whole truth about it, not partial truths about it. Tell the whole truth about it, man. So let's look at the brief history of women's property rights. I'm certain that you can see it. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Today it's easy to take, now this is in Thought Co, okay? A short history of women's property rights in the U.S. I'm pretty sure a woman wrote it, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be, well, women were just, just so oppressed, so dominated. But now, at the same time, the women are experiencing, white women in particular, experiencing not being able to open up lines of credit. How many black people was able to open up fucking lines of credit, apply for home loans, or enjoy property rights? How many, bruh? How many, bruh? Yo, you think they was just throwing out, especially black men, they was just eager to give black men lines of credit and shit? It's crazy, man. But anyway, for centuries in the U.S. and Europe, this was not the case. A woman's husband or another male relative controlled any property allotted to her. The gender divide concerning property rights was so widespread that it inspired Jane Austen novels such as Pride and Prejudice, and more recently, period dramas such as Downton Abbey. The plot lines of both works involve families made up solely of daughters. Because these young women can't inherit their father's property, their future depends on finding a mate, a husband. Women's right to own property was a process that took place over time, starting in the 1700s. Starting in the fucking 1700s. This is prior to the establishment of the United States itself, man. This had already been in the works. It's already in the works. By the 20th century, women in the U.S. could be property owners just as men were. So, women's property rights during the colonial times. Let's take a look at it. American colonies generally follow the same laws as their mother countries, England, France, and Spain. According to British law, husband controlled women's property. Some colonies or states, however, gradually gave women limited property rights. They had limited property rights. In 1771, New York passed the Act to confirm certain conveyances and directing the manner providing deeds to be recorded. That's the Act 1771. This is before the establishment of the United States as a nation state. This legislation gave a woman say in what her husband did with their assets. You see it? This law required a married man to have his wife's signature on any deed to her property before he sold or transferred it. Moreover, it required that a judge meet privately with the wife to confirm her approval. Now, is it to some degree oppressive? I ain't gonna say it ain't. But goddamn it, it ain't the same as what black folks were experiencing during the same goddamn time period. Sorry, no comparison. Shout out to Electrician 480. No comparison. 3 years later, Maryland passed a similar kind of law. And it required a private interview between a judge and a married woman to confirm her approval of any trade or sale by her husband of her property. So if she didn't have the ability to hold any property whatsoever, how could something be her property that needed to be basically confirmed by her and approved by her, giving her rubber stamp of approval? If they couldn't own any fucking property at all, how could the process ever take place, bruh? Huh? So this whole idea women had no property rights, there were no social or legal or political institutions in place to try to protect their interests is a fucking lie. It's a goddamn lie. It's a lie. So while she may not have technically been able to own so-called property, she was allowed to prevent her husband from using hers in a way she found objectionable. This law was put to the test in 1782. Flanagan, Leslie versus Young, was used to invalidate a property transfer because no one had verified if the woman involved actually wanted the deal to go through. Massachusetts also took women into consideration regarding property laws. In 1787, we talking about how many years after the passage or the ratification of the Constitution of the U.S.? 11 years, bro. It had passed a law allowing married women in Massachusetts to act as femme sole traders. This term refers to women who are allowed to conduct business on their own, especially when their husbands were out to sea or away from home for another reason. If such a man was a merchant, for example, his wife could make transactions during his absence to keep making money. So yeah, were the laws somewhat oppressive to a certain extent? Yeah. But it ain't got, man, the fucked up thing about all of this is, during the same time frame, both black men and women were literally fucking property that white women can own. Literally. Literally. It's important to note that this review of women's property rights mostly means white women. Enslavement was still practiced in the U.S. at this time, and enslaved Africans did not have property rights. Now, the very idea that black men want to develop a state similar to this is fucking bullshit, man. I'm tired of hearing it, bruh. I'm tired of hearing that. Like, this is what we want. We want to reintroduce coverture laws like this. I've never heard any black man say shit like this in this space or nowhere else in my fucking natural life, man. When have you heard any men speak like this? Oh, we need to reintroduce laws that restrict black women from being able to have any property. When have you ever heard this shit? When? And name for me the motherfucker who said it. Name for me the motherfucking man who said that, bruh. In this space or anywhere else in the goddamn black community. Give me the motherfucking goddamn the proof. But that's neither here nor there. I'm off of that. I'm off of that. But to the real matter at hand, you already know it's a woman by the name of Stephanie Jones Rogers. She wrote a book, They Were Her Property. Now, we've already been over this, but there's an interview that she did with a woman, on Vox. I want to read the contents of that interview, watch a small snapshot of an interview, and you tell me, at the end of the day. Then I'm going to show you a slideshow of white women and their participation in slavery, lynching, and segregation. And you tell me if they deserve actually to be part of the civil rights movement or the Civil Rights Act. That they actually needed it to the same extent to which black folks needed it. And you tell me what the end result actually is. What are the consequences of them being included in the Civil Rights Act? Not saying it shouldn't have been a special act that they needed in order to deal with their issues, but to have them included in the Civil Rights Act is almost a slap in the face as far as I'm concerned. Because they're not a minority. They were part of the colonial, slave-based, terroristic Jim Crow segregationist project. They were full participants, not bystanders. Oh, well, I couldn't hurt a fly. I don't know why you're doing that to those poor little darkies. They were willing participants in this shit. Well, you can't be you can't talk about Miss Ann like that. How dare you talk about Miss Ann like that? You can't be talking about Miss Ann like that. I love Miss Ann. Miss Ann, that's Miss Daisy. I drives her. Why not? Why can't you criticize her? Why can't you make her culpable for her participation in the fuckery that's the U.S.? But no, what we want to do is we want to place the fucking tail on black men. We want to put it on black men. If this ain't the most simplistic, unsophisticated, intellectually lazy, disingenuous bullshit that I've ever heard, I don't know what is, bruh. I'm sick of hearing this shit. Because it has no basis in reality. There's no empirical or objective data points that you can move to demonstrate that this is what black men actually desire. In this space or anywhere else. In this country. I'm sick of hearing it, bruh. So let's look at this interview Then we gonna watch a short video. Then we gonna look at the slides. Now, I guess a black woman can say this shit, but if a black man said, oh, you can't be talking about them women's now. We don't want you to say nothing about these women's. You can't say nothing about them women. Them women, I love them women's. How white women's investment in slavery has shaped America today. White women are sometimes seen as bystanders to slavery. A historian explains why that's wrong. It's wrong. So it says in the American South before the Civil War, white women couldn't vote. Well, let's just be honest, man. The vast majority of white guys who came to this country, man, early on couldn't vote either. We act like there's always been universal suffrage in America allocated to everybody. What I've been trying to articulate is that at the inception of America, only 6% of the people who were here could vote. Yeah, it was white men, but it was a tiny, small, narrow population of guys that could vote. Like, we got to start telling the truth, man, with all the nuances and the ugliness, man, all this filtered photo shit, the pictures that we presenting, they're not accurate. They couldn't hold office, and when they married, their property technically belonged to their husbands. But as historian Stephanie Jones Rogers notes, there was one thing they could do, just as white men could. They could buy, sell, and own enslaved people. Period. In her book, They Were Her Property, White Women as Slave Owners in the American South, Jones Rogers makes the case that white women were far from passive bystanders in the business of slavery, as previous historians have argued, which quite natural. We want to protect our ladies. We don't want them implicated in this, but they were all deep up in this shit. Rather, they were active participants showing up their own economic power through ownership of the enslaved. In the past, historians had often based their conclusions about white women's role in slavery on the writings of a small subset of white Southern women. But Jones Rogers, an associate professor of history at the University of California, Berkeley, drew on a different source. Interviews with formerly enslaved people conducted during the Great Depression as part of the Federal Writers Project, an arm of the Works Progress Administration, the WPA. These interviews showed that white girls were trained in slave ownership, discipline, and mastery, sometimes from birth, even being given enslaved people as gifts when they were as young as 9 months old. They were taught how to discipline, they were trained in ownership, and they were allocated gifts of slaves at birth in some instances. The result was a deep investment by white women in slavery, and its echoes continues to be felt today. So they basically are, in commemoration of the 1619 Project, they're going to have a chat. Vox reached out to Jones Rogers to talk about the history of white slave-holding women in the South and what that history says about race, gender, wealth, and power in America today. Because there are a lot of guys out here right now who are articulating, well, them women are so oppressed. They don't have any rights. They're being dialed back as we speak. They're so oppressed, they're about to be made barefoot and pregnant. Like, come on, man. Stop it. So the person conducting the interview is Anna North. She says, can you talk a little bit about how the book came about? She said when she was in and this is Stephanie Jones Rogers, when I was in grad school, I was taking all these different courses and reading all these books on African American history, but also on women's and gender history. So I was reading about African American history, but I was also reading about women's and gender history. I was particularly interested in what these two subfields of history had to say about white women's economic investments in the institution of slavery. What struck me is they seemed to be in direct contradiction to each other in many respects. Now this is the problem. The intuition is that white women were oppressed, slaves were oppressed, so they're in a similar condition. No. No. Those historians who explored the experiences of white Southern women would often argue that while women had access to enslaved people that male kin or their spouses may have owned, they weren't directly involved in the buying and selling of slave people or enslaved people. Particularly, married women weren't. Conversely, those individuals who explored the enslaving of African Americans would often, in fact, say that a formerly enslaved person talked about having a female owner or talked about being bought or sold by a woman. And so I asked myself, what's the real story here? Were white women, particularly married white women, economically invested in the institution of slavery? Meaning, did they buy and sell enslaved people? I looked at traditional sources where we might think to find those answers. A white woman's diary, a white woman's letters and correspondence between family members, etc. They mentioned very sporadically issues related to answering this question, but there was not this kind of sustained conversation. So I said, African Americans are talking about this. Formerly enslaved people are talking about this. So let me look to their interviews that they granted to the federal writers in the 1930s and 40s. And so when I look at those interviews, formerly enslaved people were talking about white women's economic investments in a variety of ways, consistently, constantly, routinely. So Anna, this is the interviewer. The historians you mentioned who didn't see white women as economically invested in slavery, what sources were they drawing on, and why is there such a disconnect between those sources and the interviews with formerly enslaved people that really did delve into these economic questions? She says, Stephanie Rogers, I tried to focus primarily on married slave-owned women in this book, in large part because those are the women who many historians of slave owners say did not have a direct impact on the economic institution of slavery. And they say that in large part because of this legal doctrine called coverture. Essentially, this doctrine says that when a woman who owns property or earns wages or has any assets gets married, those assets, those wages, that wealth immediately becomes her husband's. Their identities are subsumed into one. Many historians have looked into this legal doctrine of coverture and seen it as all-encompassing. But scholars who have made this argument have essentially not examined the voluminous evidence that appeared in the testimonies of formerly enslaved people. They also looked at a very small subset of women, highly literate, very elite white women who had the time to sit down and jot down their thoughts about the day. And so they're missing the vast majority of those women who actually own slaves. So she says the vast majority of women who own slaves own less than 20. Man, what would it be? How advantageous would it be to have 20 motherfuckers at your beck and call doing whatever the what you told them to do? Huh? Just imagine it. Imagine how much you can get done in a fucking day. You got 20 motherfuckers ready to get down for you? Come on, man. So the vast majority of women own less than 20 slaves, and often the women that I talk about in the book own one or two, no more than 5. So these are the women that were probably not literate, and if they were literate, they didn't have enough time to sit down and write what was going on in their day. The vast majority of women who own slaves are missing from the analysis, in large part because they did not leave documents behind to tell us how they felt about these things, to tell us how they were investing in the institution. So formerly enslaved people's testimonies about these women are, in many respects, the only surviving record to document exactly that. So she said, so in looking at those testimonies, what did you find in terms of the roles that white women and girls had in slavery and the way they formed their identities through their involvement? Stephanie, what I thought was really interesting as I read much of the scholarship on white slave-owning women is that so much of it starts when women are adults. One really wonderful thing about the interviews of formerly enslaved people is they talk about white girls. They talk about white infants, female infants, and female adolescents. So we are allowed into several phases of white female life through these interviews that have heretofore been obscured or kind of left out of the picture. I decided, in order for the second half of the story of women, to make sense, I have to start the story at the very beginning in the early years. So she says, I start the book by talking about how white slave holding parents train their daughters how to be slave owners. They give them lessons in slave discipline. Kind of like that, huh? Motherfuckers like getting whipped and shit. Come on, man. They give them lessons in slave discipline and slave management. Some even allow for their daughters to mete out physical punishment. Can you imagine? You got a fucking 9-year-old little white motherfucker slapping you and punching you and beating you and whipping you, bruh. Huh? Can you imagine it, bruh? Oh, but we love Miss Ann. I love little Polly Purebred. Oh, come here, give me some kissums. Man, slave-holding parents and slave-holding family members gave girls enslaved people as gifts for Christmas sometimes, or when they turned 16 or 21. So instead of a new car, you get a Negro. Man. There are even accounts of slave-holding parents and family members giving white female infants enslaved people as their own. There's one particular instance of a case in a court record where a woman talks about how her grandfather gave her an enslaved person as her own when she was 9 months old, bruh. When you think about the fact that their relationship to slavery, to slave ownership, begins in infancy, in girlhood, what you begin to realize is that their very identities as white girls, as white Southerners, as white women is intricately tied not only to ownership of enslaved people, but to control of enslaved people, the management of enslaved people. Are you getting this? They manage you like chicken and sheeps and cows. You are managed, dude. Men and women. The other really important lesson that their parents, their family members, and even their girlfriends, cousins, female cousins, and so forth are also teaching them along the way is the way the law is set up. You have this property, and when you get married, it will, if we don't do anything about it, become your husband's. And if he's a loser, you're going to lose. So they essentially say, we have to make sure this doesn't happen. So they want to be able to, as women, getting married or, becoming married, they want to be able to hold on to their slaves and not have their husbands be able to take the shit away from them, because you need to be able to hold on to your niggas. So before these young women get married, their parents and sometimes female kin and friends will encourage them to develop legal instruments, prenuptial agreements, and arrangements around being able to maintain the holding of niggas. They don't want to lose all of their property to their husbands. These legal instruments that they develop are very much like prenups today. They're called marriage settlements back then, or marital contracts, which essentially detail not only what property they're bringing into the marriage, but what kind of control their husbands can or cannot have over it. These women are not stupid. They're like, I'm about to get married. The law says that everything I have is going to be my husband's. I don't want that to happen. What can I do to prevent that from happening? And so they develop prenups. They are prepared, they are knowledgeable, and they work with parents and others who are willing to assist them to develop protective measures to ensure that the relinquishment of all their property, wealth, and assets doesn't happen once they get married. So again, this whole notion that coverture leaves women vulnerable in every fucking instance, like they have no protection, like they didn't work around the law, like they didn't develop devices to make sure that they weren't getting fucked over, is asinine. Stop with the fucking bullshit. And all the while, we talking about slaves. Your ass couldn't buy and sell property. You couldn't even go where the fuck you wanted to go. But we talking about how women are oppressed. Oh, the poor women, they couldn't sell us. Man, fuck you niggas. Oh, women so oppressed. Nigga, your ancestors were slaves, you dumb chicken George motherfucker. You chicken shit chillin' bucket beating motherfucker. You were the slave, man. She was the owner, the disciplinarian. And now you caping for these motherfuckers? What's wrong with you niggas? You slave syndrome possessing niggas. What the fuck is wrong with y'all, man? What in the fuck is wrong with y'all, man? What is wrong with y'all, man? What is your major malfunction, man? You niggas so interested in being woke and progressive. Now you promoting the motherfucking very principles that your prior fucking owners used to fucking are promoting, that they promote. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? If I tell you, you know, I love them women. Which ones? And to what end? And to what degree? Man, I'm really beginning to believe, man, that black folks, man, are the most politically inept and naive and dumb fucking minded Negroes that ever existed on the planet of the fucking earth, man. Real talk. I'm really beginning to believe that shit, man. And I ain't saying you gotta go out here and be ignorant and violent or anything else, but at least know the facts. At least have the correct political orientation. Know who the people was that fucked you over. But the only retort they got to this shit is some shit some other white people said about how, you know, well, black guys really want to be white dudes. We really want to be like white women too, huh? So she says women cannot do many of the things that men can do in this time period. One thing they are allowed to do by law, and this is particularly the case in the South, is invest in slavery. And that's exactly what they do. Not only do they inherit enslaved people, but they also go into slave markets. They buy enslaved people. They'll hire them out. They'll collect their wages. Now you talk about fucking wage exploitation. Now, all the shit that these white women arguing about they want in terms of fucking rights, they are denying to the fucking slaves. You imbecile motherfuckers. But you got more interest in what the fuck white women getting and their theories about how they been oppressed than you do your own fucking condition, how you been oppressed. This is why you niggas are laughable to me. I laugh at you niggas. Oh, well, you know the women, we gotta make sure the women get this. I gotta make sure them women get that. Why they owned your fucking ass? They own your great granny, nigga. They own your great grandpappy, motherfucker. Now, we gotta make sure they get the right to own. They got the right to own your motherfucking ass. You chicken George, chitlin bucket beating nigga. I'm sick of hearing this shit. I'm tired of hearing it, bruh. They hire Negroes out to go get money. And they take the money and they go buy more niggas. Like it's the dope game. They open businesses and they employ those enslaved people in their businesses. Those businesses make a profit and they use the profits to get more slaves. They are investing in the institution of slavery in the same ways as white men are. The other really interesting thing that I observed in the interviews with the formerly enslaved people was that white women often owned twice as many female slaves as they did male slaves. When I would talk about this with scholars in the field, some of them would remark, oh, that makes sense because if women are in the house, they need more female help. I said, okay, yes, that would be practical. But what has also been important to recognize is that these women understood the law. There are laws on the books during this period that ensure whenever a person owns an enslaved woman, that if the woman gave birth, the person also owned a goddamn children. And so owning an enslaved woman means that you're not only reaping the benefits of the woman's productive labor, but also her productive labor, but also her reproductive labor. So don't talk to me about Roe v. Wade and all this shit about women's wombs and shit when they snatching your fucking ancestors out of the womb, you chicken George ass niggas. Don't talk to me about that shit. Don't talk to me about fucking women's reproductive rights, you chicken George ass niggas. I'm sick of you motherfuckers, you dim-witted, numbskull, backward-thinking, sophomorish ass niggas. Stop it. Stop it. Was that true of white men too? Did they have more female than male slaves? Much of what I'm describing was also true for white boys and white men. But during this period of time, there was a development in the domestic slave trade, which essentially was the purchase of enslaved people in the Upper South, in places like Virginia and Maryland, and then their transport into the lower and into the Southwest. Then the country expanded during the 1800s. In these sales, if an enslaved woman had a child, that child was seen as a liability to the slave trader. There are accounts that I talk about in the book where these slave traders are willing to just toss away the fucking baby. But there was this white woman in one particular case who would go to state auctions, and if there were babies there that were not sold along with the mother, she would ask for those babies to be given her. She would keep the babies for free. She was hustling. She had the bargain box. The slave bargain bar. I'll take that, baby. If you don't want, you know how it's like, well, you don't want them apples, I'll take them. I'll take that little nigger. You don't want that little nigger. I'll take him. I love the women's rights. I just love these women. You know, these women were so oppressed. You motherfuckers losing the scope and the range of what the fuck occurred and who was actually engaged in the practices. Oh, I want to give them a pass because they got a uterus. How the fuck you don't give them a pass, bruh? They culpable for this shit just like the men was. But you can't see it like that. You niggas have no ability to think in terms of depth and breadth. All you think about is checkers. Oh, you got one move and one mode of attack. That's it. You don't know how to think multidimensionally. You niggas have no capacity to do it. You got one mode. You got one play. Imagine being on the fucking gridiron. All you got is one goddamn play. Every fucking play you run the same goddamn play. How the fuck you gonna win the game? You got women and men on the gridiron. Oh, I'm not gonna touch her. I won't touch her. I won't do nothing to her. She oppressed. She's oppressed. I can't do nothing to hers. How else can I do something to hers? Why would I do something to hers? In those respects, there were instances in which white men saw enslaved children as liabilities and white women saw them as long-term investments. You talking in the book about how white women were able to achieve economic and social empowerment through the ownership of enslaved people. So you nigger or her come up. You nigger or her come up. That's how she get paid in the game. That's how she come up in the economic ladder. That's how she climbs up. That's how she get up. By making you work for her. Now, I don't know if you know anything about exploitation and social stratification, but this about takes the fucking cake as it pertains to it. You chicken George bucket beating chitlin motherfuckers. I'm tired of hearing this bullshit. It's stupid. I'm tired of hearing niggas talk. Oh, the women and all that. I love them. All of them? For every reason? You buy into their ideology in every way, on every account? For what? I'm not stupid. I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. But niggas don't want to tell the truth. They want to tell the truth related to their ideology and their bias about what's progressive in politics right the fuck now. They don't study history for real. They just skim through the shit in order to validate their viewpoint. I don't give a fuck about viewpoints other than the correct one. We got a problem in the black community, and motherfuckers want to talk white liberal fucking female politics. And I'm sick of this stupid ass shit. I'm tired of it, man. Now, do women suffer some shit? I'm pretty sure they do. But come on, man. This This takes the cake of fucking women not being able to buy some property. We talking about buying niggas, you dim-witted motherfuckers. And I'm going off on your asses today. Because I'm sick and tired of this goof troop shit. I'm tired of it, man. It's goofy shit. You talking the book about how white women were able to achieve economic and social empowerment through ownership of enslaved people, essentially gaining some status in a patriarchal society through dominance over black people. This is what we telling you, stupid coon niggas. They use your ass to come up. Now you caping for them, aping their talking points, but you saying we trying to be white dudes. You niggas are confused, man. You bamboozle. You run amok. You led astray. You fucked in the game. You're behind. You're behind the curve. You're the dunce in the motherfucking with the cap in the back of the room. You don't understand the game that's being played, or you don't give a fuck about the game that's being played, because all you want is some juice on YouTube or your social media accounts, or you want some pussy. Which one is it? You niggas like these goddamn thoughts showing their ass on a fucking goddamn Instagram. You do anything. You say anything. They gaining equality to their white men through ownership of niggas. You get it? Do you understand it? Do you have that? Is that able to be processed through your fucking Abdullah Umblangata, nigga? Probably not. It's probably you're gonna explode and shit. But too much computation in your fucking brain matter. Stephanie Jones Rogers, there's a certain kind of power that comes with wealth. Enslaved people were wealth. You were the capital. Their bodies held value on a real market, within a capitalist market. White women understood it. But in order to sustain this system, white men realized that white women must be a part of the system. They must support it. They must see value in it for themselves, not simply for their husband or their children. They need to understand that this system benefits them personally and directly. The only way they can do that is to allow them to invest in the system and to participate in the system. And they are, in fact, invested in this system. They participate in the system. They benefit from this system in every single way that white men do. And that is the key to the longevity of and the perpetuation of the system. I think it's the same for capitalism. When you tell a woman you might not get as much as a man for doing the same work, but if you can get your hands on these funds, nobody can deny you. Slavery was a regime based on human bondage, but it was also an economic regime, one that was funding the national economy. When those white women are invested, it's not very different from them being invested in capitalism today. It's just a different commodity. It's just a different source of wealth. And then she goes into the 1619 commemoration. I was thinking about that part of the book where you look at the way white women wrote about slavery after emancipation. In your epilogue, you write that they portrayed themselves as forever sacrificing women who had purely played benevolent roles within a nurturing system. This that bullshit. And you quote a white woman who wrote that maybe the descendants of enslaved people should even consider creating an anniversary to celebrate the landing of their fathers on the shores of America when they were bought and domiciled in American homes. This the way they talking about you. Can you talk a little bit about how white women remembered their role in slavery after the fact and how we actually ought to remember it today? And I'm done with this shit after that. When I think about that part of the book, I also think about what is happening today. The erasure of certain elements of horror and the darkness of white women's investment and involvement in the history of slavery are very much why we're shocked to see the way that some white women respond to interactions with black people today. I'm not fucking shocked at all. Because I'm not under the spell. I'm not enthralled. I've not been charmed. I've not been turned into a pig like Cersei did Ulysses' men as they crashed into her shores. I'm not willing to say just because somebody has a different set of gonads that they're more virtuous on the account that they got those fucking different gonads. I gotta see them for what they are. I gotta see what they were involved in. But you motherfuckers, oh well, somebody said they were suppressed. I believe them. I believe them. I did, but I know, why would I not believe them? I gotta believe all of them. They said believe them. I believe you, baby. I believe. Not only do I believe you, but I believe you. Huh? You can also see that in their sender back chants. The idea that black people never have been citizens and they never belong. I think there are also parallels to what this woman said in the early 1900s and what white women are saying today about African descended people, whether they be congresswomen or just average black folk on the street. It's very much like you should be grateful because you're here now and stop complaining because look what we've done for you. I think there are many parallels between that kind of language now and the argument that she made back in the 1900s. I love them. I love these women. All of them. I mean, they just all just been subjected to so much oppression. Dear Lord God, I don't know how they could stand it. But when you look at it, during the civil rights movement, what the fuck was they doing? Stop forced busing. No busing. Our children will not be bused. Our kids aren't going to sit around and go to school with those filthy fucking niggers. Not my kids. It's a young black girl with white women who seem less hostile. But we don't know what they're saying. They might be part of the so-called progressive liberal crowd, but I'm pretty sure there's some people standing there are like, what are you doing here, you nigger? There you go, man. There you got the women in the sheets. Oh, they just innocent. They had no choice. They were just innocent bystanders. They didn't really keep this system going. They never had any participation in any of this. They just were pure of heart. Rainbows and Skittles and flowers and gumdrops profusely pouring out of their pores. Oh, they didn't participate in any of the savagery related to lynching. But they all up in the postcard though, right? Oh, you forgot to, you didn't hang him up right there, Bobby. You need to make sure that Nick right there, and come on here, little Kathy Lee and little Susie. We want you to see this now. And for all the women out there, especially you divester motherfuckers, they will hang your ass from a fucking tree too. Don't get it twisted. They will hang your ass from a fucking tree too. Don't think they won't. Yeah, we get fucked in the game more than y'all do, but they will fuck us. They will fuck your ass in the game too. Don't get it twisted. If you get out of fucking line. Look at the fucking venom on this white woman's face, man. But I'm supposed to be caping for them and shit. I'm supposed to be rushing in to save their asses and shit. I'm supposed to be working to make sure that their politics is the paramount politics related to my own fucking experience and my own interests, right? They had it so hard though, right? They came up off your ass, enslaving your ass. They got rich off your ass. America first. Oh, they weren't really participating in none of this here. Grandma, granddaughter, and mama there at the motherfucking lynching. But you motherfuckers steadily worried about black men being the white people of black people. Like we taking motherfucking other black people and hanging them from trees, you Chicken George motherfuckers. Y'all are fucked up in y'all brains, man. You got the fucked up politics. You got a fucked up politics, man. Like we got Negroes creating spectacles and public events around fucking over other black people. You niggas are fucked up, man, for even insinuating the shit. To hell with you niggas. Burn the fucking flames, you country ass niggas. I'm sick and tired of hearing this shit. I'm fucking tired of hearing it. We want private school. We don't want your ass to be in the schools with our kids. We don't want you niggas in our schools. Who's there? Who holding the goddamn signs, huh? States' rights, motherfuckers. So all you conservative motherfuckers arguing about states' rights and shit, this is what it actually means. This is what it's actually symbolic and emblematic of. This is the original reason the states' rights came into play. But I'll have Negroes in this space argue me up and down that there ain't no such things as dog whistling. You country chicken George ass niggas. Oh, there ain't no such thing. No, ain't no such thing. No dog whistle politics. No. Oh, no, dog with the politics. No, that don't exist. Them people mean what they say, and they say what they mean. They really love us. They just want to be able to have some rights in their state. They train them young. This motherfucker is drinking a goddamn baby bottle with a goddamn fucking robe and a goddamn Klan hat on, bruh. And look at that. Like they fighting for our cause. Like their cause is our cause. Oh, we can't divorce our cause from their cause. No. Our cause are inextricably linked. We're tied together. We're gonna live and die together. You niggas is playing checkers. I swear y'all play checkers all day. You never even open up the chessboard. Can't even fucking, you don't even know one opening. You don't know Jiuku piano, nothing. You know nothing about the game. But you claim to be a player like you a pro and shit. Like you dunking like Jordan in this motherfucker. And I ain't even using graduated terminology to explain any of this shit. I'm coming with the gutter shit like you niggas do. So you can come back and tell me how wrong I am. They owned you, your ancestors, motherfucker. They participated in the game. They didn't step out and say, oh no, I can't do that. That's something I cannot do. But you'll do that shit. Oh, I can't do that to that sweet dear woman. But she'll enslave your ass, discipline your ass, and sell your fucking ass off. And write your ass off if she gotta murder your motherfucking ass. But you, I got so much compassion. I think I love her. I think I love her. They'll hang one of your asses too. For you women out there thinking it's all fucking gravy and shit. Oh, we get a pass. We're magical. They will make your ass a strange fruit on a goddamn poplar tree just like a motherfucker with 2 nuts and a phallus. But now we got all these cross-sectional, intersectional alliances and shit. And now black men who were bought and sold in fucking slavery are the new white motherfuckers of black motherfuckers. Just in case you didn't know. You got the brothers doing the civil rights movement talking about the issues related to women. But you so ready to go champion the women's cause, you know, what little disagreement she got with her white man when she bought and sold your ass. Now, I ain't saying go out and hate nobody. I'm just saying this is the facts about the reality of motherfucking life of black folks in this country, dude. So don't come to me with this fake ass rhetoric about how women are left behind, or they're so behind and all this shit. I'm sick of hearing it, man. You can't compare sexism with fucking racism. It can't be compared, bro. It's not even, I don't even know why we even trying to argue that the two are equivalent. In severity or intensity, or in consequences or in results. Why the fuck are we doing this? You got little girls in this motherfucker laughing and grinning and shit. It's a good old fucking time, ain't it? But you dialed into what the fuck they going through. Their liberation meant buying and selling your ass. Their come up was buying and selling your nigger ass. Yeah, that's a little girl in the front of the picture. She watching too. So all right, let's not make fucking mistakes about this shit. It wasn't just a male thing. It wasn't just no male thing. I'm tired of hearing that shit. I'm tired of hearing it, man. I'm not letting you niggas get away with this. I'm not letting you get away with it, bruh. I'm not letting you get away with that. Again, as I said before, got a lot of black guys out here who are making the case that black men are regressive to the extent to which they are skeptical of the whole concept of white women and their idea about the rights that they didn't have, or any critiques of women or any other ideology connected to any of their social movements. And then they go so far as to say that men in spaces like this are trying to imitate white men and impose their dominance over black women, in the same way that white men have imposed their dominance over white women. In fact, black men in this space ain't even trying to do what white women actually fucking did. We ain't trying to make motherfucking nobody no slaves. But you cool ass niggas will tell us what the fuck we trying to do. You ever heard any man in this space say that we should make white motherfuckers slaves? Which one of us? Which one of us? Which one of us been out here trying to tell people, you know, well, we want to keep the women barefoot and pregnant? Which one of us? Oh, I don't want them to be no educating for them. Just keep getting them pregnant and keep them barefoot. Don't let them vote. Don't let them buy and sell. Just keep them barefoot and pregnant. Which one of us? Which one of us, bruh? You niggas too drunk off these white motherfuckers and they philosophizing and shit. You drunk off this shit. Last issue.
My own work is I'm working on what I call a legal prequel to this book, which because the law was very fundamental to the book, but I wanted to focus on the economic dimensions of this history, the economic history here. But the law undergirds that. So I'm working on what I call a legal prequel sequel to the book, which helps to understand the really complex ways and the really extraordinary ways that women not only navigate and circumvent the constraints that the law imposed upon them as married women, but also the ways in which they mobilize the law to secure a certain kind of freedom through slavery, through slave ownership. So I'm working on the legal dimension of that. But I think that there are broader implications for this book has broader implications for our society, for what has happened after slavery. It helps us to understand kind of really what happens in the civil rights movement around anti-integrationist activism. White mothers are at the forefront of that, both in the South, but also in the North, in places like Boston, I don't want to say it, in Beantown. There are pictures showing white mothers kind of, forcefully making the point that they don't want their children to go to school with black children. You see women even before that. They're part of the lynching rituals. They're part of these kind of acts of racial terror in the South. Why is that? It's been puzzling. It's been kind of befuddling, for us for so long.
No, it ain't puzzling and befuddling for me. I don't know. I'm so confused. What the fuck you confused about? I don't understand what people are confused about. What the fuck are you confused about? I don't understand what you're confused about. What are you confused about? That's like a motherfucking snake coming up telling you, I'm a snake, motherfucker. Then you get bit, then you sit back and you wonder, why'd you bite me? Why'd you bite me? Cause we don't want you to be around us, nigga. We don't want you around, nigga. Hang that nigga. Get out of here, nigga. What is there to make a mistake about? What are you lost on? We're not anti-Negro, we're just anti-race mixing. We don't want to mix with you niggers. Stay away. But everybody seems so confused about it. Oh, I'm so confused. I don't understand how it could possibly be that these women were oppressed and they were actually oppressing people. But you'll jump right behind they cause. Whatever the fuck, look, you'll jump right behind they cause because, hey, whatever the thing to do is right now, you're going to do the same thing everybody else doing right now. Don't matter how true it is. Don't matter how politically nonsensical it is. You're just going to do whatever the fuck they say. Because that's the thing to do now. Then you'll put us in the position of white women back in the motherfucking civil rights era. Now we become worse than them. Now we're worse than white women in the history of colonialization, slavery, segregation, mass incarceration, and ghettoization. We worse than them. And you niggas will just keep reiterating the same shit. No forethought, no historical understanding, don't even give a fuck about history and how it impacts your demographic. You really don't give a fuck. You don't care. As soon as I say anything, all of a sudden I'm trying to replicate colonialism, slavery, segregation, like fucking eugenics. That's what we trying to bring into play. That's what we out here doing. We trying to replicate their system and make conditions for the people who live among us like that. I'm sick of this shit, bro. I'm sick of hearing this coon, step and fetch it, old bojangle ass nigga shit. I'm tired of it, man. Y'all can do what the fuck y'all want, but I'm growing tired of this woke shit. I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of it. I don't want to hear no more of this shit. I'm not engaging with motherfuckers that's own it. I'm not having no arguments going back and forth, exchanging motherfucking bullshit ass arguments over it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm done with that shit. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. You can say whatever you want to say in your lane, in your space, doing what the fuck y'all want to do. But it still don't change history. It still don't change the facts. I told y'all yesterday, you motherfuckers ain't listening to me. All y'all want to hear is how this thought did this thought did that, this bitch did this bitch did that. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I'm tired of hearing this shit. This woman cooked me this woman do that. This bitch got an attitude, this bitch don't. So fucking what, nigga? I'm tired of hearing this shit. These bitches like this, these niggas like that. At the end of the day, we playing checkers, nigga. We playing checkers, man. And I'm tired of seeing people of my kind supposed to be on the same page and we playing checkers, utilizing their recent, most latest ideas about their own fucking oppression. When they had us like living like fucking pigs and cows and shit. Now I'm supposed to be worried about what they doing? Damn right I'm fucking angry, Pablo. You don't like it? Get the fuck on, nigga. Take your bitch ass elsewhere. Damn right, I'm angry at stupid niggas. Is what I'm angry at. You should be angry. The problem is your ass stepping and fetching and laughing at shit that you shouldn't be fucking laughing at. Because if your name, whatever the fuck your name is, Pablo, Pabli, you're probably a cracker. I don't know who the fuck you are. But y'all ass is getting fucked too. Because the last time I checked, only 1% to 2% of the population own over 60% of the wealth, and we talking about fucking gender politics. And talking about the rights of the most second wealthy fucking group in the country. And you Appalachian crackers broke as a motherfucker too. You rural trailer motherfuckers should be angry too. But you not. Because you America great. I love it. You regressive motherfuckers. You should be upset. Now your politics is their politics. You can't even find your way out of it. I just think that women should be like this, and we arguing with each other over stupid shit. Pig feet and hog maws and chitlins. That's what the fuck we arguing about, chitlins and shit. Well, I'm so educated, I don't need this, I don't need that from nobody. Those are nakers and didn't do nothings and all this shit. They'll hang your black ass from a tree also. Whether you male or female. Now, it just so happens they'll hang us more, but don't act like they won't go there. Don't act like they won't go there, because they will go there. But you niggas like to play music and dance around the tree and shit. Anything these white people tell you. Anything they tell you. Whatever their politics is, in the next 5 to 10 years, it'll be black politics too. Because we don't read our own writers. We don't read our own politics. We don't have our own politics. We don't have our own thought. We don't have our own sociology. We don't have our own anthropology. And when we tried to start it, guess who upended it and disrupted it? All this shit over some goddamn pig feet, some hog maws, and some chitlins and shit. Who gets the most chitlins? Oh, I got me a good job. I got me a good job. I'm done, man. Look, y'all do whatever you want to. You can believe whatever the fuck you want to believe. But it ain't gonna change the facts of history. It ain't gonna change who did what and when they did it. It's not gonna change. But now you dialed into their oppression and what the fuck they making in terms of arguments. Now you all up on their shit. You worried about what the fuck they got a right to do, when the very right that they had to do was on your ass. Oh, they couldn't own property. You mean they couldn't own your ass? It seemed like they found a way around that, didn't they? Now you got your motherfucking cape on and shit. You about to ride for them. I'm about to work it out for them. I'm about to go save them. I got my cape on. I'm about to go save these white motherfuckers. I believe 100% what the white women say. Why would I not believe what they say? Worried about what the fuck their condition was when they were slave owners and shit. You dialed into what the fuck going on with them more than your own goddamn population and demographic. And that's the sad part of it all. Makes me want to say, damn. Well, I'm out of here, man. I ain't entertaining no questions. I ain't talking to nobody, man. I'm done with this shit. Y'all go back to the fuckery that y'all call whatever it is y'all call in this space or any other space where you got niggas constantly complaining about women and shit. Go fucking do that, man. I'll holler at y'all later, man.